Canadian households who can't make ends meet has surged by over 50% in this new survey, and we're also going to get into the scam that the government is pulling here. So Canada saw the share of households struggling to make ends meet jump 50%, and it's not just renters as well, it's homeowners as they get into here. So the struggle is real according to nearly a third of Canadian households. This morning, Statistics Canada released the 2022 Canadian Housing Survey, a biannual window into the cost of living across the country. The latest figures reveal that both renters and homeowners are increasingly struggling. Renters were most likely to report financial difficulty, but homeowners aren't faring well either. It's not just mortgage costs as the fastest growing demographic experiencing financial difficulty was mortgage-free homeowners. So just think about that for a second, guys, and think about how a lot of those people have took their life savings or some of their life savings and they have given it to their children in order to buy a house in the Canadian Ponzi housing market, in the Canadian housing market pyramid scheme. They've given that money to them for their down payment. Lots of people are getting gifted down payments. And you've also got rent inflation that is at an insane high right now. This chart hasn't even updated, but it's off the charts. I mean, even if you look at it right now, you have to go all the way back to the 80s in order to find rent inflation of the same magnitude of what we have right now. And then you've got homeowners, obviously they're suffering massively because they took on so much debt and they're in so much debt. And it's not just homeowners, let's be frank, Canadians are debt slaves, and most Canadians are carrying large amounts of debt, large amounts of credit card debts, line of credits, whatever it is, Canadians have it if it's debt related. So nearly a third of Canadian households struggle to make ends meet. Canadians are increasingly struggling to make ends meet. The share of households reporting difficulty handling necessary expenses was a massive 30.9% in 2022, up from 20.4% a year prior. In other words, the share grew by 51.5%, while actively compensating for the breakneck population growth, a troubling trajectory, showing an equally disturbing trend for both renters and homeowners. And we're talking about 2022, guys. We're talking about 2022. We're right now in 2024, and we're about to head into the last quarter of 2024. So it's absolutely mind-blowing that we're talking about 2022 data, but it just goes to show under the hood how things have really got bad fast in Canada after those rate hikes which started in 2022. So Canadian renters are most likely to struggle with finances, according to the report. So Canadian renters are most likely to struggle with the cost of living post-pandemic. Nearly 2 in 5, 39.4% renters struggled to make ends meet in 2022, compared to 28.8% in 2021. The share increased to 36.8%, substantial growth, but not as fast as the average. But think about this, guys. You have to remember that we've seen mad speculation go on in certain places across the country. Montreal, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Calgary, Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta. All these places, all these cities have seen a rush of speculators coming in from British Columbia and Ontario, buying up houses to rent them out to these renters, to a lot of these renters. So think about the probability of them getting a bad renter in this environment. It's pretty high. So the risk was just absolutely insane. These people were buying at all-time highs in the case of places like Calgary, Nova Scotia, Montreal housing markets. So they've got no room to be wrong in this situation. And this just compounds things when obviously things take a turn for the worse. And it looks like that's happening in markets like Calgary. It looks like the housing market is turning that corner. So obviously that just compounds the issue on the downside, creates more risk on the downside. And it's just completely insane. So now I want to go over to this, because contrast what you just saw there with what's going on here. And then they are obviously increasing the available mortgages to subprime buyers. And really, I mean, we went over this last week, but it's a bailout for the banksters. That's what it's really all about. It has nothing to do with first-time home buyers. And especially this expansion, part of it doesn't even apply to first-time home buyers. So the federal government will increase the cap on insured mortgages to 1.5 million from 1 million effective December 15th, which would allow more people to buy a house with a down payment below 20%. Who is buying a house for 1.5 million with 5% down? I mean, the risk there is just crazy. What kind of nut job would insure that loan? What kind of financial institution would write a loan for that? Well, any financial institution, because it's backed by the Canadian government, because they're the stupidest people in the room that actually back these loans, and the banksters are just laughing. They're just sitting back and laughing, thinking, this is fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that. And they've got their backhand out ready. It's just absolutely nuts. Oh my God. So in addition, purchasers will be able to take out loans for a 30-year period if they are first-time home buyers or if somebody is buying a newly built house. So think about that as well, because now it's not just the first-time home buyer, it's anybody who's buying a house. Anybody who purchases new construction can now amortize that over 30 years if they are taking out a CMHC insured mortgage. I mean, it's completely ridiculous because you've got to wonder how these appraisals are actually happening. And obviously we've got the interview that's coming, which is available to members right now. So if you're a member of the channel, you've got access to the interview with Mitch Vexler. Just check out the community post. I've posted it there. And he really goes through what is going on with appraisal fraud and how that ripples into everything. And it's blatantly obvious when you look at new homes that are priced, you know, between 10 and 30% more than the used market. Well, how on earth are they getting appraisals, right? It does not make sense. The measures will incentivize more new housing construction and tackle the housing shortage, Freeland said in a statement. As my buddy John Flynn points out a lot, you've got millions of basement suites that are not even included when you're talking about housing supply, and these government figures don't even cover them. So, you know, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of moving parts that really people don't understand. And then meanwhile, in one of those boom towns, people are living in RVs. This is what you're seeing. Thanks Charlottetown for sending this to me. You're seeing more and more people who are living on the street. They're homeless in places like Ontario, and more people who are living in RVs, exactly like places in the Bay Area in California, places in Vancouver. This happens as well. You go to Walmart parking lots in pretty much every major city in Canada, and you'll see people living in their RVs. Pretty sad situation, but kind of shows you what's going on here. So it says some Calgarians are waiting for affordable housing to become available and are calling their RV homes whilst they figure out what to do next. The motorhome residents in an industrial area on Moraine Road in northeast Calgary received written notice from the Calgary Parking Authority last week advising them that the area they are currently calling home will soon become a no parking zone. So they're even going to get kicked out of that area there. And meanwhile, same thing in northeast Calgary. You're seeing Calgary grocery store staff begin using body-worn cameras as security concerns increase. Again, as the recession and the depression get further into the cycle, you're just going to see more civil unrest. You're going to see more crime. All these things are going to rise. I mean, it's just a given. It's exactly like property taxes are going up like 10-15% per year in a lot of cities, and people are like, what's going on? Why are they going up so much? Well, that's probably what real inflation is running at, actually. So they're not even going up. They're just going up with the rate of real inflation, because things like HOA fees, property taxes, condo fees, they're not coupled to the CPI. In fact, nothing is coupled to that CPI. It is purely just a fictional number that the government puts out. It's your personal inflation rate. It's whatever business's personal inflation rate, and everybody has a different one, and that's important to note. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. The Canadian economy continues to implode implode. Things continue to get worse across even places that were once boom towns. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, I'd highly recommend that you check out this video here. If you're looking for a VPN to protect your privacy, you know where to go. Go to expressvpn.com/marketmania. Affiliate link in the description helps out the channel. I will see you in the next one. Take care.